What do you say to someone whose world as they have known it has just crumbled and come to an end? A world that has been as much a part of them as could possibly be, and now no longer exists. What do you say to a human being who has given his or her life to another human being and that person has turned their back and walked away? What do you say to a person whose tears run down their cheeks as they say it's all over? There's nothing left. I have nothing left to give. Where will I go? What will I do? That scene, that conversation has taken place in my office over the years any number of times. In a former parish, I had a chair in my office that my secretary called the weeper's chair, where people sat and wept over a life that, as they have known it, has come to an end. So what do you say to someone? What do you say to someone whose tears run down their cheeks, both men and women, when they say it's all over? There is nothing left. I have nothing left to give. What will I do? Not too long ago, I noticed a neighbor of mine was out walking his dog in the middle of the day. We're casual friends. We live several houses apart. We both have animals. We occasionally meet for a drink. But out walking his dog at noontime was strange. So I stopped him and asked him what was going on, if he was sick, if he was on vacation. He invited me in and told me his story. He and a friend of his had started a company years ago. They had worked 18, 20-hour days, given up much of their social life, moved from one place to the next, but over the years had built a good business. It became much more than just a local or a regional business. It took on national proportions. The company offered them an unreasonable amount of money. He said all the things he thought about, including a good retirement, maybe buying a boat, all the things that he and his wife had put off doing lay before them. They sold the company. He looked forward to a position of authority in this new organization until the new owners told him that he would no longer be in that position. Well, they would buy his shares, but the new owner's son would be taking over. So there he was at the age of 56, out of a job, waiting to see how much his shares would bring, walking his dog at noon. So what do you say to someone whose world as they have known it has come to an end? The gospel for this morning is that scene on that first Easter evening. It's far different than what we heard last week on Easter Sunday, and I was really only using tongue-in-cheek when I mentioned Low Sunday. That wonderful Easter Sunday that we have known a week ago is not today. The gospel for this morning takes place in an upstairs room and on a side street in Jerusalem after the crucifixion. There are 10 men in that room huddled together and have been there with each other night and day for a while. I'm sure that the table was cluttered with dirty dishes, that the aroma of used up men permeated the room, and that sense of fear, that smell of fear, assaulted the nostrils. That's the scene that our gospel portrayed in that reading this morning. And it does raise the question of what do you say to someone, in this case these 10 men, who for the last 3 years at least have given everything they have, time, energy, resources, only to see it all gone. That the world as they have known it has come to an end. It is in that scene, in that setting, that Jesus appears. Mysteriously, but He's real. He says, if you don't believe it, touch the wounds. He's there. Recognizable, speaking to them in tones not of accusation, but of tones of comfort. He says, peace be with you. Peace be with you. It's the saying of someone who loves without reservation. And then He begins to put their world together again. He does 3 things. 3 things. The first being that He empowers them. He empowers them. They're eaten up with their sense of powerlessness. He empowers them. He breathes on them and says, receive the Spirit. Receive the Spirit of power, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of safety. That's the same Spirit that is called forth in every baptism. Yours, mine, and every other baptized person. It is the Spirit of adoption. Spirit of adoption. Of someone who claims each individual as his very own person, as though of the same blood. He called them, more importantly, to be set free. Free from what? Free from fear. Read the gospel. The gospel is the story of being set loose from fear. The evidence for the validity of the resurrection does not rest on an empty tomb. Evidence of the resurrection is the transformation of 10 defeated men who go out and literally change the world. That's what resurrection does. That's what resurrection brings about. They went from town to village, up and down the highways, cross country lines, with the shortest sermon in the history of humankind. He is risen. He is risen. The second thing that Jesus does in putting their world together again is to give them a mission, a purpose for being. It doesn't say, go build an empire, start a new government. None of those things. Go tell people that they are set free. They are set free for whatever limits them, whatever makes them think badly of themselves or of others. That kingdom of being set free is not some hoped-for future, it is in the here and now. It says, whatever has bound you up previously is now loosed and you are set free. Think about the things that bind us up as human beings. The things that bind up you and me. Mostly fear. You know, those fears about I'm not enough. I'm not good looking enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not agile enough. Those are the fears that diminish us. Not enough. Not enough. And he says you are enough. You are empowered and you are enough. Think about that and what that means. All the things that other people say you've got to do or become, but that you start out with that affirmation that you are enough. So that's the second thing he does. And last of all, Jesus binds them together. He makes them a community. He builds a community. That's how they will go about setting people free. They will bring them into the community. A community that honors their inborn freedom. That's how the community of faith operates. We begin, you and I come into that community with those words that we probably did not remember from the infancy, if it took place then, but from our baptism. Those words about being marked as Christ's own forever. That invisible tattoo that's put on your forehead, that you will carry the rest of your life. He makes them into a community. And then there's Thomas. There's always somebody who misses it. You know, who gets the date of the party wrong. There's always one. And you and I, on occasion, are that one, I'm sure. They tell Thomas about it because he wasn't there. He missed it. And Thomas says, I don't believe it. I won't believe it until I can see it and touch it myself. He literally did not have any belief left in it. He was afraid to believe. It takes another whole week. He stays in that community, and then the risen Lord appears. And what's the first thing that Jesus says to him? Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Risk it. And what is Thomas's response? Utter amazement, my Lord and my God. You see, in the end, Thomas showed up. He missed Easter. He showed up on Low Sunday. But he showed up. Maybe he didn't have any elsewhere to go. But he showed up and got included. So to all of us who at some time or another in our lives have missed Easter, for all of us who have known that sour taste of fear, for all of us who have deeply doubted, Jesus utters one word: peace. Peace be with you. So you see, we're in the right place at the right time. Amen.